If you want to be able to increase your conversions, whether it's through your ads, through your emails, through your sales videos, then understanding this technique over here is going to be crucial. In fact, this one technique is the technique that made all the difference in really getting people to stay, increasing retention, increasing open rate, building trust, credibility, and getting people to stay till the end. And you stay till the end of this video, you'll be able to see exactly how you can utilize stories utilizing this one framework. So the question is, why stories? Well, to answer that question, let me tell you a story. It's pretty much this. For the longest time, if you take a look at what most marketers do, most marketers try to sell a type of product by selling the product. You know, they take this product out here and they say, amazing product for sale, right? Buy one, get one free, 50% off while stocks last. You know, order now before it's too late. And usually when that happens, notice number one, there's no depth. They're just talking about the product. There's no storytelling. There's no engagement in that conversation. It's just a shallow thing, which is buy my stuff. And here's why my stuff is amazing. But if you want to be able to increase your engagements, whether it's through emails, through ads, your sales video, then utilizing story is crucial to not burn out this audience. Now, what does that mean? If you take a look at what master marketers are doing, the one thing that you'll realize is that they are master storytellers as well. Now, here's the problem with the word story. When people hear about the word story, it sounds like it's made up, like it's a good Hollywood story. It sounds like it's fabricate. Man, what is up with me today? I can do this. It sounds like it's fabricated, right? It sounds like it's got to be this thing that it's made up. But what if a story is about, number one, your history, his story, the thing that you have gone through in life, and telling in a way that is engaging, that is truthful, that is in line with what has happened, your truth. What if stories could be your personal observation? What if stories could be tried and tested stories that is out there, and utilizing that in order to build up content and storytelling and engagement? And I'm going to show you how to do that the right way. Okay, so you're going to realize that when stories are utilized the right way, it's going to, number one, avoid burnout. It's fun, it's authentic, it's unique, and most importantly, it inspires action. So let's talk about how this would work. So the first type of story that you could be telling is stories based on personal observation. So for example, this image over here is an image that I talked about when there was a fight between Mayweather and Logan Paul. So if you're not following this event, let's just say both of these fighters got paid a ton of money, where you had, number one, somebody with pretty much an undefeated record of 50-0, Mayweather, and you had somebody, a loudmouth YouTuber, where his history in boxing, professional boxing, is like 0-1. However, they got paid massively. So what did I do? I utilized this story, which is a personal observation of what's happening in the world right now, and I utilized it as a way to teach a specific point before making an offer. So rather than saying, hey, did you know that one of the best ways to get paid online is by understanding how to make an offer? If you want to be able to make a compelling offer, then click on this link, right? That's what most people do. There's no story, there's no depth. But instead, what did I do? In order to promote this product that talks about the importance of understanding how to build attention and anticipation, just like an online launch, I utilized this story and I said, notice that for these two people, what they do in order to make this fight an extremely lucrative one by building up hype and attention, here's what they did, right? So I broke down what it is that they did, and then I linked it back to my offer. And because of that, this email not only had an amazing open rate and an amazing click-through rate, and the conversion in it was amazing. Now, it's not about email, it's not about ads, it's not about sales videos, it's about utilizing stories the right way. And when you understand this, you'll be able to utilize this in all mediums. So the question is, how do you utilize and integrate stories with that platform? Whether it's email, whether it's a sales video, whether it is a Facebook Live. Well, the first thing is you're gonna do is you're gonna begin with that story. So it could be that personal observation, it could be life experience that you've had, it could be something that you've gone through before, it could be a story about Beauty and the Beast or Snow White, or about a popular pop culture reference. It could be talking about something that's current, like the Olympics. But step number one of the story selling framework that I utilize on all these different platforms is, first of all, number one, think about the story. Okay, so again, story could be personal, something that you've experienced. It could be a personal observation based on what's happening in the world. It could be something that is based on pop culture. It could be political. It could be something that you notice from a specific movie. Okay, so you tell that story. So that's number one, the actual story. Number two is the transition. Okay, so the transition is where you say, right, the second piece would be like, so what does story name have to do with topic name? Okay, so it will be like, so what does the story of Mayweather versus Logan Paul have anything to do with marketing online? So what does this thing, this object, this story have to do with your topic? Okay, now one of the things that I discovered in my very early days of online marketing is that there were many personal development products that I noticed would utilize this hook, which, by the way, what am I doing right now? I'm telling the story, right? And what I noticed is what many of these, in fact, they would be questionable personal development products. They would sell well. They would utilize this sort of open, and they would say something like along the lines of, if you give me the next 3 minutes, you're gonna discover why this half-rotten banana is the answer to fulfillment in life. Okay? And one of the things that they would do is they would take the most random objects and things. And I never really understood why it did so well until I started seeing it happen more and more often. And what actually happens is it creates this open loop. It feels like the person that's watching the video, it makes them feel as though they have to get the answer to why this random thing has anything to do with topic name. Now, obviously, the story has got to make sense, because if not, it's going to become clickbait. But what you want to be able to do is, that's what a story does, right? It enables a person to listen with more intent, because now it's not just a boring statement or fact. So the way to do the transition, which is the second part, is where you say something along the lines of, so you're probably wondering what this story have to do with you. Now you could use phrases such as like, I'm telling you this because, or oddly enough, or now that I've told you this story, right? I'm telling you this because, right? Now, even though this might be fiction, right? So whatever it is, right? If it's fiction, if it's based on a movie, right? Right now what you're doing is the transition. Okay, that's number two. Okay, so notice what I did. I told you a story about one of the things that I noticed in the personal development market over a decade ago, what people would do in marketers in order to create an open loop. And then now what it essentially just did was the takeaway, right? So you're probably wondering what this story of what personal development gurus would use back in the day have anything to do with story selling. Okay, that's where we're at right now. And that brings us to number three. Number three, if you want to be able to engage and teach at a much deeper level, that's when you have the takeaway. Okay, and so number three is the takeaway. This is where you're going to say, what does it have to do with topic name? It's, well, everything. If you think about that story, how does that apply to target niche? How does that apply to real estate? How does that apply to online marketing? How does that apply to public speaking, skincare? So let me give you an example, okay, of a story that I was teaching my community a while back, my students. And I was showing them how to use a story that I sent out to my list. And if you're on my list a few months back, you will receive this email. And it was about the story of the Fosbury flop. And basically what this story is, it's about how for the longest time, when somebody participated in the Olympics, a high jump back then was where a person would just jump over this high bar. And it was unheard of that somebody would jump with their back facing the ground like how it's done at the Olympics today. Until this guy came along and he utilized this technique. And at first when he utilized it, everybody laughed at him. And it was weird and unusual. So listen to this. So what does this story have to do with weight loss? What does this story have to do with investing? What does this story have to do with online marketing? Well, everything, right? What am I doing right now? That's the transition. What if there was a better way? What if there was a better way to do technique name, just like how the Fosbury flop disrupted the high jump at the Olympics? You see, what happened then was when he utilized this technique that got him laughed at by everybody around him, he broke the standard. And when he finally got the gold at the Olympics, this Fosbury flop became the standard that most high jumpers would use at the Olympics. Now, what if the same thing is happening for topic name? Now, you see what I'm doing right now? I'm taking a story, right, based on an observation, based on something that's happening in the world, okay, and I'm utilizing that to connect with a better way when it comes to fill in the blanks, right? Now, you can do this with anything, really. Just recently, I saw a viral image of, and this is the Olympics, I was, just following along and seeing what was happening. There was literally an image of a lifeguard at the Olympics watching over, I believe it was Michael Phelps, okay? So can you imagine if I used, and then I did use that as a talking point. What was that story? The story, I believe the title or hook that I used was, as useless as a lifeguard, no, I didn't use the word useless because it was a little bit more offensive. I used like, as obsolete as a lifeguard at the swimming Olympics, right? So think about that, right? So I could be telling the story, right? I recently saw this picture of yada, yada, yada. Now you could be thinking, what does this story have to do with topic name? Well, everything. Well, right now, think about, are there all these different things that you're doing in business, in your Facebook ads, in your sales funnel that you're doing, but it doesn't really move the needle, and in fact, it's obsolete, and if you didn't do it, there wouldn't be any difference, just like how there probably wouldn't be any difference if there's a lifeguard at the swimming Olympics or not. Right? You see what I'm doing right now? It's like, now that ad that you're doing, that email that you're sending out, that sales video that you're having is a lot more interesting and engaging because of that, right? So that's where we're at, number 3, right? Which is the takeaway, right? You're having the takeaway now as part of the story selling method. And that brings us to the final step. And the final step is just the call to action. So if it's an ad, the call to action is, if you want to be able to discover how to result, click on this link below. Same thing, if it's an email, the call to action is just getting them to click on the link. It could be a sales video, then you could be asking them to click on the orange button below that says add to cart. But you're gonna realize that you can do this with anything. This could be a life experience, something that just happened to you last week. This could be something about something that happened in your childhood. You could be talking about, like, one of the things that I would utilize is the story of how our first plane that was ever invented, and how for the longest time there was this guy called, so you're gonna hear, like, let's come full circle, right? So in a sales video, in a pitch that I've utilized before, would be the story of how there was one point in time where Samuel Langley wanted to build this plane, the first plane ever known to mankind. Now, his belief was that in order to get this plane up in the air, it was about building up this engine to power this plane that was powerful enough to get it up in the air. And this plane, right, this picture was what Samuel Langley built. And unfortunately, this plane over here did not take off, and it was not recognized as the first plane ever built by mankind. However, this is the Wright brothers. And if you take a look at what the Wright brothers built, you'll notice that this plane doesn't even have an engine. It's like a little motorized thing in the middle. But what did the Wright brothers focus instead? They focused on the glider, the aerodynamics of the plane. So listen to this carefully. So what does this story have to do with building online business? Well, everything. Because if you think about it, what most people try to do is they try to focus on building more powerful engine. Now, what is that? That's traffic. And you could have a lot of traffic and really powerful engine, but if your aerodynamics is broken, it's still not going to work. Now, I'd like you to think about, what is the aerodynamics in your business? The glider. What is that? That would be your sales process. If your sales process is broken, you could be spending tens and thousands, hundreds and thousands of clicks to your site, but it's not going to convert if you don't have a good sales process, right? So notice what I did. Rather than what amateurs would do, which is what? Coming from an angle of just trying to sell that thing, which is, did you know that having a great sales process is going to do wonders for your business? If you'd like to be able to discover how to create an amazing sales process, then click on this link below to work with us, right? Again, there's no depth, there's no messaging, it's not engaging. Why? Because there's no story. So once you start utilizing this, and this is a muscle, you start looking at things around you, life events, observations, your personal history and what you've gone through very, very differently, because now you're always trying to connect what it is that you are seeing in the world and connecting it with your audience in a way that's purposeful but engaging at the same time. Guys, let me know in the comments below what some of my biggest takeaways are. As you know, I'm always giving away tickets to my trainings, my events, and we're gonna be selecting winners from below. And as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you wanna be able to watch more videos just like this one.